Dr. Robert Gorter has been a practicing physician since 1971 and has served 6 major universities in 3 continents. In San Francisco, he became full faculty at the University of California, San Francisco Medical School, UCSF, in 1983. He has lectured his own formal classes in Anthroposophic Health Studies, HH 650, at San Francisco State University, SFSU, since 1984. This presentation on the double is a presentation online for these classes during the time with COVID-19 travel restrictions. Also, this lecture has been translated into Italian to be presented to the students of Stella Maris in Bologna, Italy. Stella Maris is an art therapy academy which he co-founded in 1994.
Okay, today the topic will be the double. What is the double? So we will go step by step, and since I also, this lecture especially also meant for students of the art therapy academies, among others also Stella Maris in Italy, but it's also of general interest, and also it is important to understand yourself and other people, and maybe also current affairs in the world. So the topic will be the double. So I will first ask the question then, what is the double? Yeah. So I have here altogether 20 slides. Several of them are paintings and etchings to help to give you an understanding about what we are discussing. Yeah. And so the double is something which you understand, we create ourselves. So you could essentially say, I create a double, a shadow of anything where I was not perfect or was not honest or so. So therefore also it is sometimes called the shadow, because a shadow is there where there is no light, so to speak. And therefore a few of these slides will I briefly discuss. But you can say that a double is a demonic being which we create ourselves. So each of us has his own double. Yeah, and that the double links up with me again at the moment I'm born, and when I take my first breath, and it stays with me till the moment of death or shortly thereafter. Yeah, and so it accompanies me always. Like also when I'm in the street and in the sunlight, I also have a shadow. So, but it is done more on a spiritual level. And my double, I create my double by being untruthful, by being lazy, by being all these things which we'll discuss. So everywhere where I am, where I've not been honest or imperfect, also lazy. We all know people who maybe said, oh, by January 1st, I will quit smoking. And then January 1st comes, and then maybe for a couple of days or a week, there's this battle and they stop smoking. But then usually people start again. Now, every time, as an example, that you make a decision to kick a habit, but you can't do it, you strengthen, or you don't do it, you strengthen your double. So each time it will be a little bit more difficult to quit smoking. And I know of many people who have decided 100 times in their lives to quit smoking, and every time it gets more difficult. But it is with anything. And I'm addicted to chocolate, so to speak, but that's fine. I can manage my preference for chocolate. But anyway, so that I want you to understand that a double is always a creation out of my own thinking, feeling, willing, speaking, and doing, and so. Yeah. So, and that's also, and the double, also when I die, it must stay behind here in the sphere of the moon, so between here, between the earth and the moon, and it waits for me till I reincarnate again. So at the moment I come back, and the moment I am born, I take my first breath, then my double says, hello, here I am again. So And then and now for also you can say the double is this also more and more a hindrance, and therefore, if I know how to overcome it, how to weaken it more and more till it sort of has no power anymore to distract me from what I should really be doing here on earth, I have overcome it. So I create my double. And it's also a hindrance. It's always something working essentially against me. But when I can control it and I can dissolve it, or Rudolf Steiner says, when I put it to starvation, that through starvation my double is gone. We'll talk about that. Then I will have become stronger by overcoming also my shortcomings, not in this life, but also in previous lives. So, and therefore, if you get to know your double, you can also feel the double, who it works in you. As one example, we'll get to that in a moment, is sometimes there's one person at work or somebody you know in your circle of friends, and he or she always irritates you. Oh, that's him again. So, but then usually irritation comes forth out of my double. There's something I don't like also. Yeah? And so you should also look at yourself and, for instance, wonder, how come that this person irritates me all the time? And when you look carefully, you can say, well, actually, my double doesn't like this person, or that person's double is so much like mine. I don't like this. So, but anyway, so as introduction, the double we create, and it's, if I put it now, summarize, it is because of all my shortcomings. And yeah, that is important. So then the next slide is, so everything is an accumulation and creature I created out of my shortcomings, but always only by me. Yeah, and therefore you say also what can be parts of my double is, for instance, that I identify also, for instance, in my folk soul. And that's also a topic which has helped me a lot in anthroposophy, that actually each nation, each group of people with their own language, they also have like a group soul. And that is, well, that would go too far now, but that is then an archangel, which brings people also together in a way of reacting, feeling, and also the language. And so, and therefore it is if I feel very much Dutch, and when I cry with the national anthem, and everybody else, other nations, they're not so good or so, then also I strengthen my double, because when you progress in understanding the world and also what is beyond the world of the senses, then you will see I will reincarnate many times. And once like me, this time I reincarnate in Holland and I'm Dutch. Next time I reincarnate maybe in Brazil and I'm a cute little lady in Brazil or whatever, but I will never keep reincarnating in the same folk soul, because the different nations are there, the different cultures are there, and the different worldviews, also that I'm exposed to that and I learn from them. But nothing is perfect. Yeah? And that's also what I like, the saying, like, there is no religion above the truth. But you can also say there is no worldview above the truth. Yeah? And therefore each of us is called upon to enter a world which is true, but above language, above tradition, above nationality, and so on. And that's also what Plato, one of the major and leading philosophers in the Greek culture. That's also important. What have the Greeks taught us? That is logic thinking. Before that, it was tradition, it was images, it was, you just followed, as I say it simple, I followed the tradition and I followed what a leader or a priest would say and explain. So now comes with the Greek culture the needs and also the understanding that I can understand and grasp the world by thinking. And then a student of Plato, that was Aristotle, he developed the 10 categories. So 10 ways, 10 tools to think logically. And what we do today and in science is all based in the work of Aristotle. But interestingly, when Aristotle, when he taught at the academia, so the university, we would now say in essence, and he taught the 10 categories, he was declared a person non grata. He had to go in exile or essentially being trials and being murdered because he brought something which was new and in conflict with the tradition. So Aristotle then had to flee. He got a day to go, but he had to flee Athens. And then he ended up in Macedonia. And in Macedonia, the king of Macedonia asked him to be the tutor, the teacher of his son, which we now know in history as Alexander the Great. Okay. But you must understand that also in the past, each culture or each group of people have added something to what we are nowadays. Now, so you could say that a double is almost like a demonic being, a shadow which we create and will put us hindernisses in our way. And then you could say, therefore it's my enemy. But by overcoming these hindernisses, I get stronger and stronger. So he's then also my best friend, so to speak. So, and that is often also, maybe we get to it in a moment, or we'll spend another hour on what is evil. Yeah. And that is a very interesting question. We know in Christianity, it's also Judas seen as sort of the evil person who betrayed the Christ. But we can also have another look at that and see, well, also his function was necessary. Otherwise, if Judas wouldn't have betrayed the Christ, then the crucifixion and the resurrection would never have taken place. So therefore, you must also see my double as my enemy. It will try to keep me away from my goal. But when I get to know it and I can overcome it, I get strong. And that finally it is, what is the purpose or the goal of mankind development? That is freedom. Because, and that sounds funny, but also the angels and the archangels and everywhere in the spiritual world, there's not the freedom we must develop as human beings. And therefore it also says in St. John let the Christ say to a group of people, so it is tough now, but one day you will sit at the right hand of God and being sort of and give as a gift to all other beings freedom. Okay, so I think therefore also freedom, and also what you see, was currently described in the Bill of Human Rights, when the United Nations were established in San Francisco and not in United Nations and not in New York. That is also clear a next step in the development of freedom. Okay, so the next slide then is some more, and that is then we must overcome what I discussed, the double. It is always a struggle, but you can overcome your enemy, so to speak, if you know your enemy. And therefore, also Rudolf Steiner spent a lot of time also more in his esoteric instructions to know about the double and how to face it and how to overcome it. And we have, let's say, and also the double, it will always try and pull me back. And that's called also about the guardian on the threshold. But we'll get to that or some other time. So, and now the double will also, therefore, show to me and put hindrances on my way, like disease and illness and discomfort. So you can also say that much of my health and my maybe diseases I will experience also come, or my double plays an important role in that, because we see also, I see illness as an effort, and also it's also karmic, an effort to overcome where I was untruthful, where I didn't do what I had to do, and so on. Yeah, so that is, we will get to that. But I first want to discuss about the double, and that the double is always with me. And again, and that's also part of my effort today, is that when you know your double, that it is easier to see it, to wake up in it, and to battle it, to overcome it. Yeah, so it's always also in part a battle. Yeah, and that's also important. And I give this lecture special also for the art therapists and at the Stellamaris, but also for each doctor, for each therapist, it's important also to know about the double and your own double. Because only if you are more and more aware of your double and know its characteristics, you can help patients as a doctor or as a therapist, or also for art therapy and psychotherapy, if you have dealt with your own double and you are aware of its existence and can maybe even notice it. Yeah, and that is also the effort I try to do. And I have here now, we will soon also show you some pictures. This is this is the introduction to Kamaloka. You cannot understand your double if you also don't understand the process right away in life after death. But here is, I will also show you in my contribution a couple of pictures, paintings or pieces out of a painting from Jeroen Bos, who lived in the 15th century in Holland, and who in the 16th century, and he made many pictures which are very bizarre, so to speak. But what he does, and explain that, he describes the experiences in life after death. And now, let me tell you the first process right after death. So when I die and I exhale the last time, then I will enter a period of 3 days. And like my physical body, so dust goes back to dust, then in the next step is I will set free, or I will let go, or I withdraw from my etheric body or life forces body, of which we will talk one day. And what is, for instance, stored in my etheric body, in my life forces body, that is my memory. So anything I have ever somehow remembered, put in my memory, it comes now as a huge tableau. And that means a huge panoramic view. And everything at once, which is hard to describe unless you have had this experience before. But you see everything in great detail, what is stored in your memory. Also things you might have forgotten now, like what kind of cake did you get on your 12th birthday or so. You don't remember in detail, but then you will see everything in detail. So it's hard to describe, but it takes 3 days. And all what is ever stored in my memory will, so like dust goes back to dust. So my memories go back to world memory, or we call that the akasha. Yeah. And so therefore nothing ever get lost. So at one point when I am far enough and I can remember, or I can view in the Akasha Chronicle, in my world memory, I can see all my previous incarnations as well. Yeah? So never anything gets lost. Yeah, and then after this then I enter Kamaloka. And I will talk about Kamaloka. That's very important, because Kamaloka is there's a Sanskrit word which you could say in our Western tradition we will call Kamaloka purgatory. And a purgatory that lasts about 1/3 of your lifetime. So let's say you turn 60, then your Kamaloka will last plus minus 20 years. And now this is important. When I deal with other people, I will trigger in them feelings, thoughts and feelings, and I can bring about feelings of pleasure, of happiness in other people, but it can also be mean to them and so on, let them suffer, and also maybe physically. And so when somebody, let's say, suffers, and maybe I can maybe see somebody has a tear or so, or is sick, and then suffers, I can observe that, but I can never experience that. And now is it so? In Kamaloka, it turns around. In purgatory. So now I will experience anything a sentient being, so a human being or an animal, has experienced through me, through my deeds. So if I have a nice little cat on my lap and it's purring and I strike it and so, and it's it feels content, then I will also feel that. So also what I've ever done to animals, I will experience most intimately, but especially human beings. So anything people have experienced through me. So any sentient being, I will now experience, but through a magnifying glass. So if I brought about also a good feeling in somebody, I will experience that, but also all the things were less positive, I will experience as well. And therefore it is for most of us like purgatory. So, and now, so plus in Kamaloka, everything I have been thinking and feeling, and for instance, I can talk to you and say hi and be nice and say good morning, but think maybe, oh, that terrible person or so. So I can lie with a smiling face in life after death. Anything what I have done and maybe untruthful or so, it will now be projected to me as almost like a movie. I will see it now as a movie. And there's nothing I can do. I cannot intervene, like also in a movie. I go to the cinema, I see a movie, but I cannot say, hey, stop a moment, or I want it differently. That's the same as in Kamaloka. So, first of all, I experience most intensely what I have brought about in other beings that can feel, humans and animals. I see as a more objective movie all my feelings, my thoughts, my lies, my laziness. I will see that too. But one more important information. When Kamaloka, so in the first 3 days in life after death, I have my panoramic view and I see everything at once. which we can hardly imagine so while we're here on earth. But I know it's true. And then we enter Kamaloka, purgatory. And now the thing goes, what other people have experienced through me and animals have experienced through me, I go through that, but backwards. So to say, in Kamaloka, I start the moment I died, and I experience everything back the way I discussed till the moment more or less I was born. Yeah, and if that is true, I think so. But if that's true, it's also so just, so fair that I will in Kamaloka, in purgatory, I will experience, feel most intimately anything I have brought about in sentient beings. I think that is now really, I think that's also very justified. But then you can understand that for many people, so Kamaloka is like purgatory, but you can only progress in the spiritual world if you have overcome all your desires, your untruthfulness, your lies, your laziness, just name it. You have to leave that behind before you can make your next step in the journey, which is not the topic now of today. But therefore, but if you have done something nice to somebody, or to your cat or your dog, or to a friend, you have done something nice and surprised, the person's happy, you will experience that too. Yeah? But unfortunately for many people, purgatory is, first of all, the suffering and so, and I have brought about in other sentient being. Now people say, yeah, but how is that now with a chicken? But let me give you an example. I as a human being, I have a soul. I am unique. There are no two souls, two human beings, personalities the same. Animals, like cows or lions or chicken or birds, they have a group soul. That means each human being has his own soul, but all species have their group soul. Yeah? But here on Earth, when I see 100 lions or 100 cats or 100 cows, they form together one group soul. Now, if I have always eaten, love to have a barbecue chicken or so, then yeah, I eat my chicken and so on. Most people are not aware what happens till the moment I get my barbecue chicken. But in Kamaloka, I will meet the group soul of all chicken. And the group soul will let me experience what a chicken goes through in the bio industry. And the suffering and the killing, and no chicken and no cow says, please kill me for your hamburger. So, and thus you see all the sufferings of animals that they finally end up in your hamburger, you will experience too, but then through the group soul of a chicken or of a cow. And so for a while you will be chased down or tick by the group soul of a chicken, if you because you mustn't experience what an animal experienced to end up on your plate as a hamburger. So it is, but therefore it's only an introduction. I want to go too much in depth about it, but you must say, Kamaloka is truly existent, and it is a step to burn all in me what is desire, what is untruthfulness, and so on and so on. But remember, retroactively. So from the moment I died till the moment I was born. So, well, you can see that also in the slides. But remember that again, Kamaloka, I experience everything through a magnifying glass, and and you can say, where is that Kamaloka? Well, of course, it's more difficult to give it really a space. Let's say it's in that cupboard. But you could say that between the Earth and the Moon, there is a sphere. We call that the Moon sphere. when you're a Kamaloka, you are in the sphere between the moon, the earth and the moon. Yeah? Once you are over that, so after the Kamaloka, you can leave Kamaloka, you're sort of purified. And I would say, for most people who ever had to, we'll talk about it with, for instance, with Dante, that when you have had an experience of the double and what people go through purgatory, Kamaloka, you could say for many people, so for quite a while, a burning sensation. As if it's really, you're burnt, you're suffering, but people must have had when they were burnt alive in the Middle Ages. So it is, but the more you have been good to other people and animals, the easier your Kamaloka will be. But you have to go through it. Yeah? Okay, and then I already discussed this, and then it goes backwards. Now, and what is important and what I also do now since 1982 is that you do what we call retrospection, because that's why in Kamaloka everything goes backwards. You experience your life backwards, but then especially your deeds and the effects of it. But you can do the following at the end of each day. It only takes 10 minutes. You can never say, "Oh, I have no time for this." You sit down at the end of the day. Maybe you still brush your teeth, and then you sit down, and you. Sometimes you can do with your eyes open, your eyes closed, and then you remember all the events of that day, but backwards. So it's called retrospection. And you don't have to be frustrated if you can't remember everything, but it is the process that I learn myself that teach myself to go into also this phase of retrospection, because we always in daily life, it is a rat race, running forwards, and often we lose ourselves in running forwards. And now what I can do when I do this more or less regularly in the evening, then I can also experience my life in backwards, but it will then help me after a while when I'm in the daily life, in my rat race running forwards, to have more an objectivity, more, for instance, what I sometimes do when I'm in my rat race during the day, that is a moment I say, oh, when I do tonight my retrospection, I will specifically stand still for a moment at this moment, and extra visualize in my memory this moment. For instance, I'm with a certain patient or so. And then when I do my retrospection at the end of the day, and I come to, and I made it a little bit more difficult for me during my rat race, that when I do my retrospection, I would stand still for a moment with extra attention to this event. So, but I would highly recommend, in order also to be more able to face your double, that one of the tools is also by learning more and more about the double, but also by doing retrospection, because also your double would like you to be in the running forwards in a rat race, and so almost like be a chicken without a head, so to speak. Yeah, and now at the end of the day, I can unwind, I can go backwards, and that has a significant effect. Not after one time I do this, but after a while you will notice, hey, I'm more aware also in my daily life. Yeah. Now, and now a few things about the Kamaloka, and that is, well, we discussed it actually. We experience everything through Kamaloka. Now here are some of the paintings I want to show only as an example. They are from Jeroen Bos, Hieronymus Bos, a Dutch painter, and he paints pictures, but as an artist, from Kamaloka. What you will see here, I really highly recommend. I will also make available a whole, in writing, an article on Jeroen Bos and also show some of these and many more pictures. But you see here bizarre events, yeah, and an egg on legs, and somebody, an ear pierced by a knife, and so on and so on. But he did it on purpose to provoke in somebody a warning, but also how will it be in Kamaloka? How will it be in purgatory? And then you see here also, but I will also put online, which you can download, an article on this with many more pictures and give some explanations. Now, and the one you see next one, this one, you see in the sky with bizarre also beings. You see that in black, that is a monk who is there and who is taken by these in Kamaloka. But also if you prepare yourself by facing your double in order to be able to go across the abyss and enter the spiritual world awake. Well, we go every night, we go back into the spiritual world and we lose consciousness. And when we wake up, we can't remember. Yeah, but when you make steps in your development and you become, let's say, in medieval tradition, a saint, there you remember in parts of what you experienced during your sleep. And here you see, he is a monk, so like a person being on his way to be in holiness. And he is also tortured still by, but then in the sky, not we will see in ice and deep frozen, well in the sky. So he is already, it is somewhat easier than what you'll see later pictures from Dante. Yeah. But I only want to show this to you, so that you have an idea. But this is through the eyes of a painter, but they are true in a certain way. Yeah? And that you get also bizarre animals, also birds picking you, yeah, because you ate chicken, so to speak. Yeah? Anyway, and here also, I like this picture too, that you see now a bird-like being swallows you, and so now the roles are reversed. Or then here also a lot of fear, but creatures terrible. But I only want this as an impression, but you see that Jeroen Bos must have for sure experiences of Kamaloka, and also met his double, and he painted that in this way. Yeah? And then I want to say a few pictures still on the story or the legend or the saga of Dante. Briefly, because all Italians know Dante, but for those who are not familiar, Dante is a student on a spiritual path. He has a master, and at some point, when Dante is far enough, his master will take him by the hand and lead him through Kamaloka, through purgatory, and teach him what all will be happening, what the consequences are of each deed that you do, and each action, also in Kamaloka. And now you see here, and that was Dante, that was in the late Middle Ages, early Renaissance. But in the 19th century, there was a French artist, Delacroix, and he made many of these events clearly described in Dante, which I highly recommend. He made etchings of that to also be printed in a book. And here you see, for instance, for a while, that these men, that is men and women, so individual humans in life in Kamaloka, they must for a while, so ceaseless work, they must push up a heavy rock up a hill, and the moment they're almost there, the rock rolls down again, and then they have to push up again, and then, but they will never bring the rock till the top, and it stays there as a sort of also torture, so to speak. But we are, but you see all these men pushing up big rocks, but they never make it. Or then here has also interesting. Here what you see is that here is the master. Here's the master, here's Dante, and they see always together, and they watch here. They say human beings in the Kamaloka, and they have been for a while, I would say, woodened. They have become wood. And then they grow in a funny ways with branches and tree-like beings, but they are made of wood. They are stiff and they can't move for a while. And then here, for instance, also here is then the devil, but Lucifer. In anthroposophy, we know 3 different kinds of devils: Lucifer, Ahriman, and the Asuras, which will be a presentation by me on itself. But here you see them. He is then Lucifer, watching how people get their loan, their punishment in purgatory, where he is with Ahriman and so the rulers. And then you see here a group of people are beaten up and forced to go into a boat, but then to cross a river, but they will never make it, and so but all you will see, it is events what they have to do, but it's very, very difficult. It takes a long time before maybe they finally succeed, and that means that they can move on from Kamaloka to further into the spiritual world. And here you see also it's horrible. People are in hot mud, in lava. Alleen their feet are sticking out, and they must be for a while in lava-like situations with sulfuric smells, and so it's a horrible situation where they have to go through. But it is again portrayed as by an artist. It will be still very much more intimate when you go through during Kamaloka. And then you see one more here. That's also a painting here also of Dante and his master. Here you see how 2 human beings, try to kill each other by biting in the neck, so by mouthing is that called. That's of course also, so Dante gets a tour through Kamaloka to show the effects, the reflections of each of us in the early life, but in a just way. If I went to the neck of somebody, as an image, if I try to brutalize another person, I will experience that in Kamaloka, and also like being brutalized. And finally, when you go through Kamaloka, as my last slide, then you leave the sphere of Mars, and then you will be able to expand through the different spheres and the different hierarchies. But that will be another lecture than what happens then when I prepare to go to heaven, Devagam. And usually the time you are nowadays in Devagam, so in heaven, is a few centuries, and then you start to go down again to your next earthly incarnation and meet again your double, or what is left of your double. But I like this picture that is also by Delacroix, the French artist, who was very much fascinated by the saga van Dante. And you see that the hierarchies here, they are then, we go through them, and that's also important to know, that when we leave Kamaloka and we expand and expand, we go through the different hierarchies. We'll meet the angels, the archangel, the archai, the exousi, and so on. And they will all ask me questions. And you see that reflected in the sagas which we know, like in, I want to say one thing only, I like this, it gives a good example. Goethe has written a fairy tale, and it's called the beautiful, the white lily and this green snake. There is like many legends also from Oedipus, or you can find hundreds of them, that when you want to cross a river or want to cross a lake and enter a new land, which also means to progress in your wholeness and become a new level of consciousness, there is always a hurdle. It's a dragon, it's a monster, or there's done with the river. And then there is a ferryman who is ready with his boat to bring you across the river or the lake. But he also has 3 questions. And that's also a story of Goethe. And then one of the questions is like this. What on earth is more valuable than iron? And then the correct, and has to do with the Mars development of the Earth. I want to go into this. But it's more valuable than iron on the Earth. And the correct answer is silver, with the moon. Okay, yeah, that's correct. We could say, I could have come up to that idea too. And then comes what is more valuable on Earth than silver. And the correct answer is gold. Now, everybody could have come up with this, but now it comes. What on earth is more valuable than gold? Now, I have some students say, platinum, so, but that's not meant. What is the only correct answer? That is the dialogue. What is more valuable on earth than when 2 people truly meet each other in mutual respect? So somebody says something to me, I listen, I respond, and then that person listens. So there is an exchange. Yeah? First of all, also of idea, of concepts, but also of feelings, but a mutual respect. And that is most worthwhile. And therefore also we live in a time nowadays that somehow the dialogue is gone. People have an opinion and they push that through. And also many young doctors, they got a PhD through research with me, and always wanted in their dissertation, in their thesis, that the last chapter of their thesis would be a discussion. What have others maybe found? What is in conflict with my research? Or what should be better still studied? Or what is still unknown, or a question mark also in my research? And that means that you also have self-criticism, but also that you come in a dialogue with other scientists, but also with other people next to you. So therefore I want to say, and also finish, what is most valuable on earth, that is the dialogue. That 2 people sit together in mutual respect. And also in Kamaloka, you will experience all what you couldn't do, to meet in full respect your neighbor, but also your cat. Yeah. So I want to finish this and say, we have discussed the panoramic view in the first 3 days in life after death, and all my memories become part of the Akasha. That means the cosmic memory, so nothing gets lost. And then we go through Kamaloka, purgatory, and we can only progress and go further into the spiritual world if we have undone all what is still passion, what is and the suffering of that. So thank you for your attention.